How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting, and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia. So, we are now kind of exploring. We had some very interesting interactions. As always, I feel like I said it at the beginning of each episode, but that's really what every episode is. It's just like, we're just really into super character focus, which is really cool. While all visual novels, I think, highlight and are exceptionally successful primarily because they focus on character development, we also get to see very powerfully in this series just how much that can drive a story forward. Because, like, there hasn't been a whole lot of other plot, right, basically. There's hints of it, which is part of what's coloring the intrigue and really kind of, I think it's part of what gets all the hooks going. But at the same time, this has been almost a purely creatively character-driven experience, and that's been really, really successful for me. But it makes it hard to do these, like, recap, because there's not really much else to say other than let's keep having some fun with our classmates and then see what's going on. Because it looks like today we're having something with Yumiko. So, yeah. Well, she's been definitely becoming a bit more of, like, the enigma. So I'm curious to see if we're going to get any results, because we have the whole sneaking out. She tried tailing us. And we also, like, I don't know. She's got the super rich family and everything. Part of it makes me wonder if it may be, I thought perhaps, like, the person who put the hit on us with the thugs in town was just one of the girls. But then it kind of hit me. It actually might have been something that Yumiko's family did, where maybe to try and prevent us from getting too close or asking too many questions or something. I don't know. We'll have to see. Anyway, let's jump right in and see what happens.
そうですか。今日、どうせ勝手に来て勝手に喋って勝手に帰るのでしょ。私には関係ありません。
Talk down to everyone for a while, then leave when he gets bored. Has nothing to do with me. Maybe her dad? Or what?
では。
Sunday afternoon is a lazy time full of freedom, but for some reason it also seems to inspire a deep melancholy in many people. I guess feeling a little down about the approach of Monday is understandable, but why waste the free time you have left by sinking into sentimental, ennui? I have no idea if that's a word. It's a very Japanese thing. Because of my occupation, I've made a lot of friends overseas, where they tend to enjoy their days off without any of the gloom. To quote, why think about that nonsense when there's partying to do? Bwahaha. Probably as a result of spending so much time with those guys, I'm not the type who gets depressed or wistful on my days off. But among my classmates at this school, there seems to be a few who suffer from the typical Japanese late weekend blues. I can understand it in theory, but it's honestly pretty hard to empathize. Okay, what are you doing? Collecting toys from, like, gacha machines? Makina practically skips down the road, playing with a strange keychain. At a glance, that looks like the pretty plain little figurine. Is that thing really as rare as all that? Right, Tuna Fish Man, of course. How could I have... I totally forgot that was a major feature of last week's episode. Uh-huh. Tuna Fish Man again? I've got to keep an eye on that one. I've been training my body as I usually do on the weekends, but Makina has persistently hung around, pestering me to take her to the shopping district by the station, so here we go again. Here we are. Lately, the girl's been furtively buying toys like this whenever she goes out with me, probably because Amane gets mad when she wastes too much money on stupid crap. Don't mention this to Amane, she'll get cranky at me for encouraging your bad habits. Oh, I'm sure that's what it is. Jealousy. Throw a line from some daytime soap opera at me, will you? Amane really needs to stop watching that crap. No wonder she thinks like a 50-year-old. What, me? Having assumed the bad influence on the dirty old lady Makina lives with is responsible for that line, I'm flustered to find the finger pointed at me instead. Makina narrows her eyes to slits and turns to me with a smirk. She's devious. Good grief, Makina. Like, she plays the role really well. Like, there's a lot more to her than meets the eye. She's very childlike, and she, like, just revels in that. But there's a cleverness in there. And she's a manipulative little son of a gun. Gah.
お兄ちゃんも口の利き方には気をつけた方がいいのよ。
Yeah, keep playing the role. Apparently, quite pleased about having cut me down to size, Machina cheerfully jogs on ahead of me. Amane and the others did say my behavior has been influencing Machina, but hearing it outright from the girl herself is a bit of a shock. Seems I really do need to watch my step. I don't get it. In the workplace, I was considered something of a moral exemplar.
あれ？お兄ちゃん、あれ何なの？
Machina suddenly stops a few steps ahead of me and points down the street. 100 meters or so ahead, there's something unusual enough to halt even Machina's momentum. Oh? In front of Mishima Cape Station, a cordon of jet black luxury cars have blocked off the road where the local buses usually stop. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is like presidential lockdown, establishing perimeters type stuff. 10 odd men wearing suits mill about the area, talking in cell phones, restlessly checking their watches, or discussing something in small groups. For Yakuza, they're too white-collar. They don't have the intimidating, aggressive body language characteristic of gangsters. That said, this bunch aren't exactly inviting either. Most people would probably give them just as wide a berth.
何なのよさ、あれ。
Don't know, but whoever they are, they're not anyone we want to get involved with.
どうしてわかるのよ？
They project an aura of please don't cross us. They were friendly, respectable guys. They wouldn't block the road in such a nakedly intimidating way.
そうよね。ちょっと怖い。
I haven't often seen Machina admit to being frightened like this. The girl's brave enough to grab snakes and centipedes with her bare hands, but something about that group seems to be bothering her quite strongly. She's obviously very uncomfortable. No reason to hang around here. Alright, I think it's time we head back. Instead of those guys, maybe you should be worrying about the homework you haven't even started.
それを知りたくないからこうして駅まで散歩に出てたのに。お兄ちゃんは非常なのよさ。
They fishing for excuses? Yeah, don't just stand there. Let's get it moving.
ふぐぐ。
As Machina holds her head in her hands and moans, I poke her in the back, urging her down the street toward the dorm. As she finally starts to walk, I shoot a quick glance back toward the station area. The group of men in business suits have come to attention, facing the ticket gate in apparent anticipation. Just now, a special express train seems to be pulling in. The station employees are running around making preparations of some sort. Some sort of big shot arriving?
お兄ちゃん、まだ駅の方見てるの？
Machina looks up at me with a distinctly uneasy expression. It's nothing, don't worry about it. I ruffle Machina's head gently and do my best to reassure her. We walk back to the school, still a little tense from our encounter with the mysterious group. Probably wise we don't investigate, but I'm super curious.
二人ともお帰りなさい。
Tadaima. When I enter the door with Machina, Sachi turns to greet us with her usual smile. It may be the weekend, but apparently she's decided to spend it scrubbing the hallways clean as always. Our maid's zeal for her duties knows no bounds. Yo.
帰ったのよさ。
はい。風見さんもマキちゃんも無事で何よりです。お風呂が沸いていますので、ご希望でしたらどうぞ。それとも少し早いですが、夜のお供をした方がいいでしょうか。
Oh dear. We know she's 100% legitimate, so like, I mean, it sounds like it's a cutesy line she might just picked up from watching too much anime, but at the same time, have people asked her for that? Because that's terrifying. All of a sudden, I seem to have developed a ferocious headache. I press my head to my forehead and close my eyes, but can't suppress a bitter grimace. I mean, me too, I was like, oh no. Machina is one thing, but Sachi too? Where did we go so wrong?
一体なんでこうなってしまったんだ。って顔してるのよさ、お兄ちゃん。
That's terrifying. Don't go reading my inner monologue. What did you do? What did you do to Sachi? Is this your fault, I assume?
知らね。いいからちょっと試してみなって。実に都合のいいビッチメイドに仕上がってんぞ。
What is... You are a devil! What is wrong with you? Listen to me when I'm talking to you. Also, don't turn people into slutty maids.
マキちゃんが言うんです。メイドたるもの、すべての面においての奉仕が必要だと。
Oh, no.
私はそれを聞いて、ハッとした思いでした。 今までのメイドはあくまで上っ面をなぞっただけだったと気づかされたのです。
That's complete nonsense. Stop dancing on Makina's strings.
尽くしましょう、皆さんのためなら。それが命令とあれば、望まれるのならば、風見さんに性的なサービスをすることもやぶさかではございません。この小峰幸、お口ならば、いつでも捧げ。
Stop, please! I interrupt Sachi's outrageous proposal by grabbing her firmly by the scruff of the neck and lifting her off the ground. You're like, what? I'm gonna do it. With the other hand, I seize the miscreant who's been putting troublesome ideas in her head. My prey dangling from both hands, I bellow loudly enough for the entire dorm to hear. Get out here, Amane! Amane!
何よもう、お夕飯の準備してたとこなのに。
Amane appears in no time at all, still gripping a potato in one hand. She favors me with a look of undisguised annoyance. Hey, I'm a little concerned about something here. These girls are getting worse by the day. Might be possibly my fault.
はあ？そりゃ、あんたのせいでしょ？思いっきり。
Why? I see. I had a sense such a crisis might be approaching after Makina's words earlier, but it's still something to be something of a blow to face my fears made reality.
マキナもさっちゃんも、ユージが来て以来、どんどん口も性格も悪くなっているというか。
Okay, maybe it is our fault. I mean, Ayamane is not the best source of, like, inspiration and, like, wholesomeness either, but at the same time, she doesn't tend to lie about these things.
上の口は悪くなろうとも、下の口はこう、いい具合に。
Oh, stop, please. I would be dying if this were actually me. If I were genuinely in this and I was just hearing her say that kind of thing. And not like, first of all, it's like, you know, whatever, you do what you do. But then this idea that somehow I'm responsible would make me want to die inside. Be like, please stop. Say that stuff if you mean it, not just to mess with people. Yes.
とまあ、こうなったのも明らかにあんたのせい。
Yeah, she obviously picked up that nonsense just now from a man. Guess that means me. Sorry, I've seen the error of my ways.
もう、かなわんわ。
Amane answers in exasperated Kansai dialect. She seems to have concluded that my repentance isn't going to produce any real results, and I guess she's probably right. But I'm now firmly convinced that my behavior has been a bad influence on my two younger classmates. I'll try to tone down the guy talk and stick to nice, harmless chats about pasta or whatever.
あれ？なんで今日はみんな集まってんの？何かあったんだっけ？
Yeah, looks like I'm impacting the minds and hearts of my fellow classmates. Hey, Amane, we have one here that doesn't seem to have been influenced by me in the least. Can I use her as a mitigating evidence?
なりうるとユージが思うんだったら説明の機会だけは与えるけど。
I mean, she hasn't started saying weird things yet? Sorry, impossible. I'll throw myself to the mercy of the court.
何よ。なんかよくわかんないけど、多分バカにされたのよね。そうよね。バカじゃないわよ。
はい。みちる様は大丈夫です。今の疑問の答えはともかくとして大丈夫です。
I hate that they punched down on her so much, but at the same time, that was actually kind of funny.
ともかくじゃねえ。あと根拠も何もないのに大丈夫とか言うな。
In this case, the external influence of two could pretty much only be a good thing. That said, the thought of Michiru remade in the image of Makina sends a cold shiver down my spine. We've got nothing but eccentrics in this dorm as it stands. I'd really like to avoid adding that sort of hybrid super pest into the mix.
そういやなんか今日駅前におっかない車が山ほどいたのよさ。
Clinging to Amane, Makina reports the earlier events.
おっかないって何それ？車高が激低いとか、助手席に変なオブジェが回ってるとか、そんなん？
Yeah, statue? Nah, they weren't freaky scary like something I could see you driving.
ユージの中の私ってそういうキャラなの？ねえ。
I don't know either. What is he talking about?
そういうアマネーの乗りそうなおっかないじゃないのよさ。
Makina, please!
これもあんたが悪いわよね、ユージ。
Stop it, please. Sorry, I've seen the error in my ways.
で、どういうおっかないなのその車ってのは。黒塗り、超テカテカしてた。窓も真っ黒だった。窓も真っ黒だったら見えないじゃない、外が。
I mean, if it were literal paint, you'd be right.
みちる様、スモークガラスです。
何それ、ガラスがいぶされてるの？
Actually, not far off. I think old days, that's essentially what they would do to darken windows, is they would like hold like glass over flames and like the soot would like stick to it. Like it was unintentional in the factories during the Industrial Revolution, but people would employ it to like make windows block out so like you wouldn't be able to see into them, or to provide like internal like pseudo darkness. Michiru, stop talking for a while.
なんでよ、スモークっていうぐらいだから合ってるでしょ。なんで違うのよ。あんた、スモークサーモンとかスモークチーズとか食べたことないの？
That sadly is not helping.
なんかめんどくさい流れね。要するに、エンチュリーとかリクサスとか、その手の高級車ってことでしょ？
I like how Lexus or Toyota Century, but that makes sense at least. Like, especially Toyota.
そうなのよさ。あ、そっか、今日。ああ、あんたいつもあれが来るときって、朝から寮の中にいたから大名行列のことを知らなかったのね。
Okay, so this is a regular thing?
大名行列？なんなのよさ。
Amane, I've been worried you might be the sort to stealthily hit the bottle in the kitchen when the kids' backs are turned, but things have progressed to the point of visual hallucinations.
だから人をよどみなくするっとアル中にするな。黒塗り高級車の列を例えたんでしょ。わかるやろそれぐらい。
We're buffeted with roars of Kanzai inflect rage. However, I've already tuned Amane out. I'm currently wondering about one conspicuous absence from our group. By the way, haven't seen Sakaki today. She out again?
ってユージってその辺のことも全然聞いてないの？
At least he's putting the pieces together. I don't know what stuff you're referring to. What does Sakaki's absence have to do with your alcoholism?
アル中から離れろや。
今日はですね、
What, is it like her birthday or something? At my side, Sachi hesitantly begins to speak, but quickly falters to a stop. What? Should I not have asked?
いや、別にまずいってことでもないんだけどね。
For once, even Michiru has something of a restrained expression on her face. Okay, well, look, okay, if it's making you all this nervous, and I'm guessing it's about Sachi, like, maybe, not Sachi, gosh darn it, what, my brain is just falling out of my head. Sakaki. I knew it was Sakaki. Well, I don't know why I was hesitating. I was like, Sakaki's not right. Oh, God. I think I'm just I've had a very long day. I'm really happy to be recording because I need a break, but my gosh, I've been put into pudding. I actually been making pudding, and for some reason, it's just turned my entire brain to mush.
今日、榊さんがいないのはあれよ。授業参観だから。
Okay. Because her parents pay for the school, her parents, in a weird way, okay, I'm guessing, okay, my prediction. Her parents seem quite content to shuffle her off to be on her own. Whatever reason. I think I had this impression that she might be being here to be protected, hence the giant walls. You know, so like, they're like somehow trying to like give her a school life, but also make sure that she's safe. But that implies that like her parents are very busy and powerful and wealthy, right? And they want their child to be successful, but they're not necessarily emotionally attached to their child. And when you have entrepreneurs that are hyper-focused, they can kind of be, having been around these people, they often can start to see their own family as almost like investments, because everything that's meaningful to them is an investment. You know, it's a business. It's about like progressing and growth and making things bigger and more powerful and more well-known. And so if you deal with entrepreneurs, you sometimes come across these guys who treat their children, and it doesn't have to be entrepreneurs, it can be anybody, but like entrepreneurs in particular can be very harsh in this, where they want to see progression in their children to the point where like more so than even themselves. Like they say like, you should be better than me. I want to give you all the opportunities. I want to provide you everything I never had growing up because I want you to succeed where I failed. I want you to be able to hit the ground running and have all the opportunities I never had because I had to fight for what I've got now, and I don't want you to have to fight to be more successful than me. So it's like this idea of like love, but it's almost like a materialistic love, like expression of love via material rather than like quality time. So maybe that's what this is. Parent-teacher conference is literally like a very regular meeting where he or she, like mom and dad, maybe come meet with the principal and Sakaki to talk about her progress in school as a way of accountability, which, you know, all parents do. Parent-teacher conference is very important, but this is obviously taken to an extreme because, you know, they literally own everything. So everyone takes it super hyper seriously, and they shut down the whole city essentially to make sure that they can arrive safely to meet Sakaki and the principal in the train station to hold the parent-teacher conference. I'm guessing that's what's going on here. Her parents are visiting the school, even though it's a Sunday.
日曜だから
What?
大名行列でいらっしゃるのよ。気まぐれでね。
今回は電車で、そうですか。それで駅の方へいらっしゃって。はい。わかりました。では予定通りですね。はい。由美子さんは寮におりますので、学園にはいらっしゃらすみません。来客のようで。はい。はい。では30分後に。はい。どうぞ。
Hey, here I was, thinking the job of the principal consisted solely of signing off on paperwork. Seems I was mistaken. I owe you an apology.
ただ電話してたってだけで仕事してるって思われるとか、本当にバカにされてるとしか思えないんだけど。
Anyway, there's something I wanted to ask you about.
まあいいわ。とりあえずマナーとしてドアぐらい閉めてくれないかしら。
Whoops, sorry about that. After swinging the overly ornate door shut, I wander over to the espresso machine and pour out 2 cups of coffee. I set the cups down on the table, just the sort of dignified slab of wood you'd expect a raging monkey to fling dramatically through some window, then take my seat on the sofa. How much of a power move would it be to make 2 cups of coffee, to sit down and then drink from both of them? like to make 2, make it look like you're gonna offer it to the other person, but then instead of offering it, you just drink out of one and then you drink out of the other and just alternate between the 2. That's, if I have to admit, if I were like if I were like, I don't know, like I can't help but think about myself being in the Yakuza game. Like if I could just throw like influence and power around, that's the kind of power move I'd do just to mess with people.
自分の部屋並みに手慣れてきたわね。
The principal grumbles a bit at my confident movements, but nonetheless sits down across from me without being asked.
それで話っていうのは？
Amani told me there's a parent-teacher conference taking place today.
授業参観。ああ、なるほど。そういうことね。
I think you're aware, but it's the weekend. There are no classes for anyone to sit in on, and there shouldn't be any teachers here to have a conference with. Weird enough, but on top of that, you're all at the school for some reason.
休みの日なのにね。
So he's just like, I just gotta know. Also, there was a clump of expensive jet black cars sticking out like a sore thumb around the station this afternoon, and finally,
最後に？
I haven't seen Sakaki all day. I don't know much of anything about her background, but that aloof attitude makes me think her family environment is probably unusual. Judging from the way the others reacted, all of this seems to be connected. Am I on the right track?
そうさんたちは教えてくれなかったの？
It's a private matter, after all. I didn't feel comfortable dragging it out of them, so I came over to get the story from a more official source.
そう。
The principal lets out a single sigh and stands up from the sofa. Opening a desk drawer, she takes out a brochure, then returns and drops it on the desk in front of me. It's the familiar Mahami Academy admissions pamphlet.
これ、あなたがここに来た当初見せたわよね。
Yeah, although I just flipped through it, really. This sort of informational brochure is generally packed with thinly disguised advertising or obtuse legal disclaimers. Either way, it tends to involve a lot of flowery, empty phrases, not genuine facts and figures. I'm not twisted enough to find pleasure in picking out all the lies and half-truths I can find in this sort of thing. The pamphlet in particular was written about this truly bizarre academy of ours. I expect there's more lies and half-truths, and mostly pretty blatant ones at that.
そっか。じゃあここもちゃんとは見ていないわよね。
Principal Tachibana flips open the pamphlet to the first page. Just as I'd expected, it's filled with pseudo-poetical sentences describing the school and its mission of highly exaggerated terms. Is there something in... Huh. The principal's pointing at the opposite page. On the upper half of the brochure, there's the words Principal Tachibana Chizuru, accompanied by a weirdly formal photo portrait. And then we have the chairman of the board of trustees, accompanied by a different name. Sakaki Machiaki. Right. So this would be... The principal nods deeply.
そうよ。榊道明氏。偶然同じ名字なんてありえないわよね。榊さんの父親よ。今日視察にお見えになるの。そろそろ時間ね。
She does not sound excited.
榊道明氏についてあなたはどれぐらい知っているの？
As much as the next guy, no more. Haven't had any reason to look too deeply into him. Sakaki Michiaki is the name you'll find extremely frequently in the papers, magazines, and television news. The East Branch Express Group owners of a rail network with a prominent line running along the east coast of the Kanto region. As this powerful corporate body's president, it's only natural that he's referenced in the media on a regular basis. Okay, so I understand that a large train network system, especially in Japan, is going to be very prominent, profitable, and like very heavily tied to things like infrastructure in general. Like they're going to be involved in bridge building, in road construction. They're going to be involved in like law crafting and everything. And Kanto's a pretty large prefecture, I understand. But still, it's one prefecture and it's only one side of a prefecture. Granted, that's going to be a pretty successful business. It's going to be big, but like, is that going to be making headlines? Like, I think of like big businesses making headlines. I think of things like, you know, Tesla or, I don't know, in my case, YouTube, you know, Facebook, Meta, whatever, like these big conglomerates. But like, because they're not just like, they started with something that's already massive and then they just start incorporating more and more and more. So is that what's going on here? Because what she's describing doesn't sound like a super like manipulative in the market mega corporation. On the surface, he's the head of one of the leading Japanese business conglomerates and an extravagant multimillionaire. Okay, so I guess maybe it started out as that Kanto, but maybe he owns a large portion of the train networking systems now. Like, that would make more sense. And behind the scenes, he's a heartless tyrant, ruthlessly wielding brute force to perpetuate an aggressive expansion of his company's rail network. He doesn't hesitate to shatter the lives of those who stand in his way. Great! Capitalism! In particular, there's a lot of talk about his borderline fraudulent tactics in acquiring land, apparently a legacy of the previous president. Under his leadership, the group has earned a friendly nickname, Eager Bandit Express. Dang, it's like the reverse of train robbery. The train robs you. I'm really not particularly interested in that sort of gossip. The fact that I know his name anyway is a decent indication of just how much of an infamous celebrity this man is. Well, that's about the extent of my knowledge. Hope this is the part where you tell me I've gotten the wrong idea about the guy.
マスコミの作り上げた虚像ではなく、本当の彼は好人物で、とかね。フィクションならよくある話だけど、残念ながらそれはないわ。
You know, I might have been onto something. Remember earlier this episode, I was like, I theorized that one of the girls had hired those thugs, but maybe it could have been Sakaki's family. That's starting to sound a bit more realistic. Like, this guy doesn't sound like he's too far away from Yakuza. Might even be inspired by Yakuza with how he's handling his business. The principal takes a brief sip of her coffee.
その噂通りの彼が時々気まぐれで、娘のいるこの学園に視察ということでやってくるの。表面上は娘に会いに来てるってことになってるんだけど。
Again, yeah, this feels like the controlling like assets and like financial like material focused individual who like inadvertently sees their own child as a kind of material like legacy rather than like a person. That's not the case.
会った試しがないわ。これまでに3回、彼はここを訪問しているけどね。
Like, so is she avoiding him, or does he just not care?
彼女、榊さんの方から会うのを拒絶しているのよ。
Well, that was a quick answer. There's reason for that?
それを話すには、前にも言ったこの学園のできた経緯から話さないといけないわ。そもそも。いけない。そろそろいらっしゃるわ。
After stopping the alarm, the principal glances back at me.
今の話、また後ででもできるけど、聞きたい？
I mean, I guess we got pretty much what we needed. No, I don't think that's a good idea. The man comes all the way out here to visit his daughter's school, then leaves without even meeting her. From that behavior, it's pretty clear the story of Mahima Academy's founding is directly connected to Sakaki's past and family circumstances, even if the principal doesn't spell it out for me. I don't think it would be right to hear anything more than this from a third party. I'm sure it involves those complex reasons she has for being here and that you hesitate to talk about it last time. That would mean you'd have to tell me things my classmates wants to keep to herself, and if you let that sensitive part out, I'd end up with half of an unpleasant story, which is just as bad.
そう。意外にクラスメート思いなのね。
No, I'm just looking to avoid making my life more complicated than it needs to be. I stand up from the couch and begin to move toward the door.
榊さん、今日は多分寮の屋上にいると思うわ。
But before I can make my exit, the principal's words bring me to a halt.
さっきも言った通り、父親には会おうとしないのは彼女の方なんだけど、部屋にこもりきりで出てこなかったり、その時間だけ外に出ているというわけじゃないの。
So maybe she wants to see him actually try. Because again, like, if he views a lot of this as a transaction, and like, he comes here to like, see her, but really all he cares about is making sure the school's doing okay, and it's like a bonus that he's like supposed to see her, but like, he just doesn't care. Or at least she thinks she doesn't care, so she says, no, I'm not gonna meet with you. But she's like hoping he'll like, find her, like to prove that he's actually interested in her. I could see that being a thing.
父親の来るときは、決まって寮の屋上から下を見下ろして通り一遍の視察をする父親の姿を見ているわ。
And you're telling me this why?
他の誰も彼女のケアはしてあげられないのよ。あの通りの子だし、他の子たちも近づきにくいし、特に父親の来るときはピリピリしていて近寄りがたいから。
Interesting proposal.
その点、あなたは最近榊さんとも交流があるみたいだし。
I don't know where you got that information, but it must be pretty shaky source. I'm not any closer to Sakaki than any of the others are. If anything, it's the opposite.
そうなの。あなただったら少しは榊さんのケアもしてあげられるかと思ったんだけど。
That's a little creepy. Act on the basis of wishful thinking and you'll never get anything done. More importantly, don't you have a VIP to roll out the red carpet for? I'll be leaving now. I sort of sensed this in our previous conversation as well, but the principal seems to be expecting some sort of convenient chemical reaction between me and the other students. Yes, I'm putting in effort towards creating something like a student life for myself, which means trying to maintain a basic standard of communication with my classmates. But if I were to cross that line, if I were to push myself way into their private lives, there's no way it would end well for anyone involved. After all, we're talking about people driven into something very close to an isolated facility. In the worst case scenario, prying could quite literally be a lethal mistake. If I ever get involved in their problems, it's only going to be when they reach out to me on their own initiative. Honestly, pretty solid. If you're already trusted friends with people, that kind of lets you be more invasive when it comes to like trying to help. But when you're still just like basic friends or acquaintances, like, you should respect these boundaries and not try and force yourself into situations. Since Sakaki hasn't shown any intention to do so, I'm not going to make the first move, and I'm convinced that that's the correct policy. Dang it, that principal never gives me anything but trouble.
そろそろいらっしゃる頃よね。
ひとまず、寮の周りの掃除は一通り終わりましたが、
いつもさっちゃんがやってるように綺麗にしてれば何も言われやしないわよ。 挨拶とかした方がいいの？やめといた方がいいと思うよ。あまり人のお父さんを悪く言いたくはないけど、正直、いい気分にはならないと思う。
Probably.
あまねって、由美子のお父さんに会ったことあるの？うちの父さん料理人じゃない？だから、いろんなところと交流があってね。それで、ここに入る前に挨拶だけはしたんだけどさ。
あまりいい気分にはならなかったんですね。
なんかね、月並みな言い方だけど、目が笑ってなかったんだよね、榊さんのお父さん。言葉だけは気持ち悪いぐらいに丁寧だったんだけど。
So the super polite, the I'm scared for my life polite, the smile that would kill you.
にしてもひどいよね。会社があるのかもしんないけど、わざわざ選んで休日にやってきて、しかもそのまま帰っちゃうんでしょ？
And time is money.
まあ、ポーズでやってることだからね。
あまり好きじゃない大人の匂いがするのよさ。
だね。まあ、うちらに会いに来るわけじゃなし、たかだか1時間かそこらなんだから。そういや、ユージはどこ行ったの？さっき学園長のところに行くって言ったきり帰ってきてないけど。そういや、どこ行ったのかな？
Yeah, actually, I'm almost like a little worried now. Because, like, so, we might not go and invade her space, but what if we go and invade his? What if we introduce ourselves? And what if we just blatantly were to say things that, like, no one else is willing to? Be like, why you bother coming here if you're not going to see your daughter? Like, what if we just flat out just confront him on her behalf? Oh my gosh, that'd be so bad. Oh no, is that actually what's gonna happen?
理事長、お久しぶりです。
ああ、前に都内でお会いしてから2ヶ月。いや、3ヶ月ぶりぐらいかな。
I mean, he certainly looks pleasant enough.
今日はまたどういった理由でいらっしゃったのですか？
自分の建てた学園に来る理由がいちいち必要なのかね。
いえ、そんなわけでは。
一体の視察のついでだよ。厄介なものを押し付けたことへの償いとして、私自身がこうして現地を訪れないことには示しがつかんからな。
I always saying pushing my problem. Now he's probably talking about the actual circumstances, but essentially sounds like he's just saying my daughter.
そうですか。
あまり時間もない。いつも通りのルートで進めてくれ。
一応視察のコースはこちらで決めていたのですが。
いつも通りのルートで結構。別の場所を見る必要はないし、時間を割くなどもってのほかだ。
Again, time is money.
はい。
では行こうか。
なんかこう、ちょっと扱いの面倒な発電所を押し付けられた感じなのよね。
ここの町にとっての学園がですか？
It's true, it's pretty weird, so I imagine it would be very strange.
平時だったらどうということはないんだけど、仮に何かがあった場合、住んでる人の不安感ってのはそりゃすごいと思うわよ。失礼よね。人をそんな扱いしちゃって。
I don't know. Seeing the people who are here, I can kind of get it, especially if you don't know who they are and you just see these gigantic walls around a school that looks like a prison.
でも、そうされるような理由、みんなにもあるじゃない。それは。まあ、だからこその、この視察なのよね。何も問題ないですよ。大丈夫ですよってアピールのために、時々こうして大ボスがやってきて、適当にうろうろして帰っていく。
カイワレやほうれん草食べるのと同じなのよさ。
What? That sounds too specific to not be real, but why? Oh, wait. So maybe like radishes have been tainted with E. coli and people were getting sick and some people had died and some people were freaking out. People weren't buying them. And so the minister went on TV, picked up one of his own radishes and ate it on television to prove that it wasn't dangerous.
だよね。つか、そうでもしないといつ学園の排斥運動とか起こってもおかしくないもん。
私たち、やっぱり邪魔なんでしょうか？
Ah, that's sad. No, you're not. Unfortunately, though, like you're complicated and you need a place to be, and no matter where it is, people are gonna likely have issues.
そうじゃないって。だからこそ、みんな街では頑張っていい子にしてるんだし、こうやってボスが来た時も、ひっそりとおとなしくしてるんだから。でもまあ、一番辛いのは榊さんよね。やっぱり。
そうですよね。
Oh, hello. Aw. That's a very striking pose.
校舎から出てきたわね。
Hang on. There it goes. Like, look at that. Animated. This is interesting. It's like Sakaki's, it's very similar to the Michiru that we had before, where they have like a still that's highlighting like a clear moment of like their personal reflection, which is like, maybe these are herald moments of like it's trying to make us take particular note, be like, remember this is going to become a foundation for like later reveals. Because it's like, we've had striking conversations, we've had impactful moments, but having a private CG, especially with animations like this, really is drawing attention to like, this is a critical moment. Something that like we as the reader should make particular note of. Oh, are we actually going up here? As soon as I opened the door of the rooftop, I met with a piercing glare. Much like the last time we met here, Sakaki's standing straight as an arrow near the edge of the roof, her hair dancing in the sea breeze. But unlike last time, there's undisguised hostility in her eyes. Yo. Holding eye contact, I answer her sharp gaze with a light greeting. She's clearly on her guard, so I stop my approach with a good distance still separating us.
前と同じ理由かしら。
What are you talking about?
ここに来た理由よ。偶然なのかどうか聞かせて。
The reason I'm here, of course, is that I was slightly worried about a certain woman I knew would be brooding all by herself. Thanks to that meddlesome principal's unsolicited tip, I knew Sakaki's location, and having been handed that information, the idea of leaving her up here alone started to feel strangely unpleasant. Of course, if I told Sakaki the plain truth in this situation, there's no doubt she'd aggressively reject my concern. A coincidence, of course. I did hear today was a slightly special day, though. So instead, I offer up a vague mixture of lies and truth. The ball's in Sakaki's court now.
そう。ならばそっとしておいて。話しかけないでちょうだい。
Don't worry, I didn't start the conversation last time either, remember?
そうだったわね。
Sakaki breaks her silent glare in my direction, her gaze returning to the ground below. Since the dorm is the only 3-story building, the people below are clearly visible from our vantage point of the rooftop, which also means she's clearly visible. Just now, the principal is leading a man in an expensive-looking dark gray suit to what seems to be his entourage in our direction. Sakaki purses her lips tightly. As this approaching figure draws closer, she pulls herself back from the edge of the roof just far enough that she can't be seen from the ground. Her placement clearly conveys her desire to observe and her absolute rejection of being observed in return. There's a voice from below. I casually glance toward the sound. The man in the expensive suit has a fake smile plastered across his face. His laughter is utterly hollow, to the point that it's actually physically unpleasant to hear. It's the forced laugh of a person who hasn't known a real amusement in a very long time. Oh, that's depressing. Sakaki flinches at the sound. She opens her mouth ever so slightly, takes a few small breaths, and closes it again. Fetch me! She's had like a genuinely traumatic experience with him. That's not good. Like, I always just assumed he was being like just flippant to her, but now it seems like she's had genuine trauma. Like a genuine, like, I hesitate to say abuse because it's a word that gets thrown around way too much, but like at the same time, it's like, what else could it be? Her sharp gaze is clearly focused on the man in the expensive suit. She watches the man fixedly as he struts along confidently next to the principal, an expression of someone sizing up an old and bitter enemy, but there's also something like sadness there. We haven't been formally introduced or anything, but it seems safe to say the man in the suit is her father, Sakaki Michiaki. Compared to the man in the pamphlet, he seems slightly scrawnier, but I'm willing to bet that's just the result of some subtle photographic retouching by his PR people. Yumiko simply stares down at him in silence. Those aren't, or shouldn't be, the eyes of someone looking at their father. That said, they're not full of murderous rage either. Her eyes are just sad and empty.
これで一通り回りましたが。
At the principal's words, the group stops just a little distant from the dormitory.
ああ、ではこれで終わりにしよう。が、その前に。
He turns to his side, fixing the principal with a cold-eyed stare.
念のために聞くが、あれはアバンと言ってるんだろう？
The girl, huh?
はい。どうしてもと。
With a single irritated grunt, the chairman turns on his heel and begins to walk off. He strides toward the front gate with his party, exuding overbearing haughtiness to the end. He doesn't look back. Sakaki stares unblinkingly at his quiet, retreating figure. There's no particular emotion on her face now. She simply watches until the end. When his distant figure reaches the school building and finally passes completely from view, Sakaki drops both hands to the iron rail, leans forward, and heaves a heavy sigh. She stands that way for a long time, looking straight down at the concrete beneath her feet. The sea breeze picks up after a long interruption. Salty air rushes past us from behind. Sakaki's long hair and school uniform flap noisily in the wind. When the gust dies down, there's a moment of perfect silence.
やっぱり何も聞かないのね。
Sakaki mutters a few words to the concrete at her feet. There's a hint of weakness in her voice. That's right. I offer a concise reply. I'm not the tactless enough to poke my nose into people's business out of mere curiosity. I think we've been over this, but I'm not going to ask you anything. If you have something you want to talk about, I'm willing to listen. I don't know what Sakaki really wants from me right now. Amen, brother. I don't think I know. I don't think she knows. I think we're all just sitting here just waiting for a shoe to drop. But I think her words pretty clearly indicate that she was hoping I'd ask her something. Of course, that doesn't mean I now have free reign to barrage her with questions. That isn't why I'm here in the first place. Why won't you see your father? Is there a reason you're in this school? What exactly do you think about Sakaki Michiaki? There are plenty of things I'm interested in knowing, but it's not like dragging an answer out of her is going to change anything. If explaining things would offer Sakaki some relief as her classmate, I'm willing to ask these questions. But as long as I don't know that for sure, throwing my curiosity at her would exceed good-natured meddling and land solidly in the territory of outright prying.
あなたの考えはよくわかったわ。
Sorry if you find my reasoning unpleasant. This is just my personality.
不快ではないわ。少なくともこれまで私の周りにいた人間とはあなたは違うみたいね。
Oh, that's something. From Sakaki's expression, I can understand she doesn't mean that in a negative way. Her usual harsh, prickly aura of rejection seems to have softened somewhat.
私が話したいと思った時は聞いてくれる。
Oh, that's a big sign of trust. Holy crap. Like I just said, talk all you want. I'm not going to stop you.
そうね。わかったわ。
Like, as an introvert, I'm a talkative, communicative introvert, like somebody who can easily communicate with people. But even I know I don't share everything. In fact, I struggle to share some things with everybody. And that's including family, that's including significant others, that's including, like, everybody. Like, there's stuff I just struggle to share. And, like, having someone like me genuinely out of the core of our being say, I keep in mind, like, if I have something I want to talk about, I'll talk to you about it. We mean that. 100%. Like, sometimes it can sound like empty words. And even offering, like, saying something like, hey, if you need to talk, I'm here to listen. That can also kind of come across as empty words, but you get the right personality, the right type of person, and it does mean something. And for her, I'm guessing, for Sakaki, I think is the same with me, where if I were to sit down with you face to face and say, like, hey, if I need to talk about something, I'll talk to you about it. That's almost a promise. When? Who knows? Will that happen? Who knows? But if it needs to happen, we'll take you up on it. Sakaki pushes herself away from the railing and walks across to the door.
それじゃあまた。
See ya. Yeah. Sakaki's slender hand throws the door open with a surprising firmness. As soon as she's inside, it closes solidly behind her. The wind picks up again, gusting strongly across the rooftop. A few stray grains of sand from the nearby beach blow into my face. Ow. Guess I'll head back myself. I'm not going to pretend to understand Sakaki right now, but if my arrival at the school, this dorm, my entrance into her life, can end up working in her advantage somehow, I think I'd like to make that happen. Simple as that. Right now, the fact that I'm living this carefree, peaceful life fills me with guilt. It's a burden I carry with me every waking moment. If I can lighten that load of self-condemnation slightly by doing some half-assed pseudo-counselor volunteer work, then there's something in it for me as well. Of course, the way I'm thinking about this in such a calculating, mercenary way adds to the whole new layer of guilt on top of it all. On second thought, I don't know if I should be counseling anyone. Slowly descending the stairs, I mutter quietly to myself, sinking deeper into the Sunday afternoon melancholy that has nothing to do with the approaching work week. I continue my little soliloquy for some time. Ooh. Alright. That's probably a good place to stop. It's not as long as I've been going lately, but I need to not be going too long. And like I said, brain mushified. Blame the holiday in America, you know, Thanksgiving and all that stuff. It's fun, but ugh. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I enjoyed it, even if I was like a bumbling fool for most of it. I still was here. I was present and sharing in the story. And that was very interesting. Sakaki's definitely seems to be a very heavily focus, if I have to say. Like, we've been able to see and interact with all the girls to a pretty significant level, but I think Sakaki seems to be... Okay, if there's a character that seems to have main girl energy, or main, like it might be Sakaki, because it feels like a lot of bigger events are revolving around her, and the interactions between her and Yuuji so far have been a lot more on the intimate level, I think. Not so much intimacy like romance, I'm talking about intimate as in like one-on-one, like heart-to-hearts. She also was the most like vehemently objective to us at first, so it draws a lot of attention to her and her interactions. Amane's a close second though, but I feel like she took the spotlight at first, but since then has become like almost like not a side character, but she's become this kind of like omnipresent like addition rather than the focal point that she was like right off the bat. It makes sense because she was the most accepting and the most like forward about like getting to know us and letting us get to know her. But I feel like she is starting to take a bit more of like second girl seat, if that makes sense, right? And then everyone else has been very like there, and we've had moments with them, but just not the quite same level of like interaction. Does that make sense? Again, like I would say that clocking time in with interaction and events, I'd say that we're probably pretty even across all the girls, but for some reason, the substance. But for Sakaki has been the highest, and for Amane's second highest. And the other three have been kind of like middling. I hope that'll change, but it's going to be interesting to see. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel, supporting me directly, especially the members and the patrons and all of that. Like, I don't deserve it. I was actually reflecting this week on like how thankful I am for just a lot, and like I'm really thankful for each and every one of you in ways I can't express. I try to express it every video, but you know, it starts. I hate that it starts feeling rote and practiced when it's like I mean it every time. It's hard to express just how important and how meaningful this channel has been for me in my life. It's given me purpose, it's given me direction, giving me a kind of like a fulfillment that like everyone needs a hobby, and you get fulfillment from that hobby, and this is my hobby. It's like it's a big source of peace and excitement for me. It's something that helps break monotony, and even when I get sick or when things aren't going my way or when I have struggles emotionally, like it's kind of like my way to kind of process all of it and kind of move forward. So it means a lot to me because you're a part of that, whether you leave comments or not, whether you watch all the way through or not. So even though most people who aren't listening to this, I wish they did, because I'd like to tell them that. But yeah, here we are. So thank you genuinely for being here. I hope you have a great end of your month, and that as we go into the finale of the year and get ready for New Year's, that I can pull some rabbits out of my hat and make something really fun come along. And you know, we got some exciting stuff along the horizon. I think we should look forward to a nice 2024 when it comes to making content on the channel. So thank you so much. Hopefully you'll stick around. And until next video, watching me up, see me next. I'll see you there.